Is the internet stealing our libido? Now, in order for us to understand that, first we must know what this libido thing is. And the best place to discover that is, of course, our old boyo here named Buddha. He really struggled with that, and it's a good story to get into to discover the whole challenge of philosophy as a whole. Now, what Buddha was struggling with was the problem of Maya, or as we would know in the West, matter, which is where we get the word mother, which is where we get the word mother nature, terra mater, the Latin word for that. Buddha was programmed by nature to feel urges, as were you, as was I. And you see, Buddha, what he wanted to do was walk through his lovely little palace, which got all this good stuff going on, and he wanted to, maybe read books or something like that. He wanted to stay content and not be challenged by these urges inside of himself. But he'd find this thing where he'd be walking towards his library, the palace library, and then some chick would show up in the corner. And he would notice her. He'd see the girl. He'd see the sexual object. And he'd feel, it's weird, it's almost like a voice or an energy would shoot up out of his body and grab his mind and shove it out of the way and be like, get her now. And suddenly his consciousness has been subverted by something that lives secretly and quietly within him. His unconscious, perhaps, who knows? The realm of the instincts, who knows? His body, who knows? But nonetheless, this is a phenomenon we're all familiar with. Doesn't matter who you are, you have this issue where maybe you smell a certain smell and you get this overwhelming urge to eat food and you lose yourself to the urge. The urge takes control of you and it feels like you're just a puppeteer on the end of this urge. And of course, what Buddha and many philosophers came to notice is that this was Mother Nature conducting her goals and using you as a vessel for it. Because in some sense, even though you think you're this lovely, rational, little left-brained ego up here on top who likes to read books, in fact, you're nothing. That's just a kind of irrelevant little thing, that sense of you. It's just this yoke over here. It doesn't really matter that much. What you really are is a vessel, a little soldier in nature's war to defeat death. And so you've been programmed with all these urges that will jump out of you at the right time and brush that ego aside, brush that conscious mind aside and make you do stuff. Now that's really, really scary because that means that none of your decisions or your goals or your aims are really yours. You might say, I have a purpose. I have a purpose that I want to achieve something. It's like, no, you don't. You want to get in a high status position where you can express yourself and have sex with beautiful people and eat nice food. And that's not really your choice. That's something you've been programmed to do from the very, very start. And so in some sense you have this ego, this consciousness, this upper mind here, which is all, everybody celebrates and everybody talks about, and it's cool. But then you've got this other mind that lives at the very, very bottom of your being, the world of will, the world of intention. And of course they come up with many names for what this is, this electricity that Mother Nature injects you with. Freud would call it the libido, the will to life. Nietzsche would call it the will to power. Darwin calls it the will to survival. They'd all have their different names for it. The passions, whatever you want to call it, but it's all one consciousness that has an intention to get you into a position of health and abundance and victory over everyone else. And it's a very scary thing. And Buddha, the thing is that the scariest thing is that your contentment, your happiness, your clear thinking mind is irrelevant to that. Actually, it might even be an obstacle. What nature finds herself doing often is filling you with bad energy so that you stop reading your books and go out and have more sex. Like that's literally how she thinks. And so the challenge for us is quite profound. The challenge for Buddha was quite profound because he was like a handsome prince. So he had a lot of girls. He had a lot of everything. He had all the food, all the girls, all the status you could ever want. And so he was in a very serious situation because it didn't make him fulfilled. It didn't make him content. He noticed that even though he had all the things that Mother Nature wants, she still just pushed him around for more. Nothing ever satisfied her, which is kind of annoying. It's like, come on, bitch, I'm giving you what you want. Leave me alone. She's like, no, get more, more, more. She has an insatiable appetite. This libido, this will to power, it's a monster, literally, It's an all-consuming monster. And so Buddha wanted to break free from this. And so he started to go into the tradition that he understood, that was his tradition, the yogic tradition. And the idea behind the yogic tradition, well, there's many different directions. But of course, the first place that he went is that he tried to destroy the libido within himself. So he went into starvation. He went into this attempt to turn off these urges at their root, to crush Maya out of himself, to destroy life out of himself. And of course, this is where he started starving and fasting, and you'll know many different behaviors going on with stuff like this because urges are so horrible. It's like having a horse that kicks you. And sometimes the best solution is not to tame the horse. It's to shoot the horse or beat the horse until all its bones are broken. Now, of course, he soon learned that this was a bad idea, and he started to say, I'm not going to starve myself. To hell with that crap. All right, this is not intelligent. This is a blunt reaction. This is like the reaction to the problem as opposed to an intelligent perspective on the problem. So what he started to do was the more intelligent form of yoga, where he started to try to take the urges and master them. So Mother Nature screams you full of urges, and in the East they would talk about the chakras, and you understand that, okay, yes, she screams you with this desire to have status, to fight, and to fuck. And of course, this is all a very, very important part of life that you must understand. And yes, you can try crush it out of yourself, but you're crushing out the part of you that animates you, and that's a serious thing. But of course, it's not only that. This is maybe where Freud made the mistake, is that all you are is a walking dildo. That's not quite true. You actually have like more parts of yourself, more profound parts of yourself that are more interesting, like this energy, this libido that starts down the bottom, this electricity that drives you towards love and romance is also present in your chest as that heart that wants you to bond and have pride and be part of something bigger and like really love, and it's all sourced on this thing, this voice in your voice box, this vocal chakra is your attempt to express yourself, to roar and to scream, to put your words out into the world, put your energy out in the world this way. The libido can express itself in many different ways. One of them is the most crude version of the orgasm and the genitals. But of course, the vocal cords is another expression of libido, as is the mind, the pineal gland, if you will, your ability to visualize, to have dreams. And if you integrate all these together, you can stand up and use your vocal chakra to show people the visions you have in your mind, and you create something quite profound. Something far more advanced than anything we see in the animal kingdom. Stuff like religions, stuff like worldviews, stuff like art, all this type of stuff. So what Buddha seemed to have done is that he had taken this libido at the bottom and brought it all the way up into the highest one possible. It's almost like you liberate yourself from the body itself. You achieve right-brainedism for all we know, and you completely integrate with the entire world, and you lose your ego, this conscious mind that was trying to get in the way, this silly left brain. It actually gets disintegrated, and you become a woo-woo yoga bitch. And that's essentially his goal. Every single Buddhist who's watching this is literally just turned off the video right now. But it's a very, very interesting thing, because this is Buddha's strategy for dealing with this problem. You can see the problem he's reacting to and trying to figure a solution, and he forms a very sophisticated and intelligent solution, one of the most sophisticated that has ever existed. Now, of course, he's not the only guy who did this. Literally all philosophy is premised on this problem. Schopenhauer comes with very, very similar attitudes to Buddhism, because he read quite a lot of it. Whereas this idea that Maya, Mother Nature, is evil. And what you need to do is you need to take her will, which is evil, and it's a trick trying to get you entranced with life, not realizing that you're the source of pain and suffering and horror. And he wants you to shoot that libido up into the astral highest sphere, where you're the artistic sphere, and essentially just express it out there like an orgasm out of your head, to finally delete it, throw it into the astral plane where it has no ability to inflict pain in the lower dimension of the world. No more of that stuff. Create something, destroy yourself. It's almost like you're blowing your head out in a sort of symbolic suicide. And someone like Wagner loved Schopenhauer, and that's sort of what the artistic journey is. I'm going to release the libido, I'm going to release the evil out of me into beauty. I'm going to turn my suffering, my stress into beauty. And that's it. I've conquered life. I've turned life into something. I've redeemed life, because she's just a useless, lower thinking hoe. Which is quite harsh. But that is, of course, what Schopenhauer said in short, I guess.